Good morning, everybody. It's time to look at the Wall Street Journal today. I've got my paper uh, hot off the press, and I've gone through it, both sections. Normally, Wall Street Journal, those you don't know, have the main section and then a section called Business and Finance on most days. Other days, it's a marketplace and a technical paper and so on. But so I've got the paper, read it, and got, I think, 8 different articles. I'm going to jump around a little bit today, and I hope one of them you find interesting. So Ford is in Dearborn, Michigan, has brought back 30,000 workers to the office and said you need to clean all your personal material out of your office. And of course, that created a lot of panic in believing there was a mass layoff. But really, Ford has said, no, we've got to rethink the offices and rethink how we're doing this and with remote workers. So we need you to get all your personal belongings out. So why are they doing this? So you got to ask your question, right? Well, you know, I think looking forward, they see that 30,000 workers are not going to be in that office building anymore. And I think some real smart people are looking at it and saying, let's radically redo. This is an opportunity. And a lot of people have looked at this at the COVID. Smart business people, smart church people, and so on have looked at this and say, how do we change our model going forward? I know if I was in charge of office space, you know, I'd be looking at radically redoing it. I think in the future of those 30,000, probably 7,000 are going to be in the office in the future. The rest are going to be remote workers. So with that knowledge and of that much real estate, what would you do? Would you put new layouts, new furniture? This is the time to do it. Change everything. You have an once in a lifetime opportunity, change everything to do a radical transformation. Hoteling cubes versus your own office. Sun Microsystems had that years ago, and I always thought it was the move of the future. I think they were ahead of their time in a lot of ways, and had all the technology to support it. It worked very well. New conference rooms that would support more spacing, more technology. I think you're going to see this more and more. Watch for this as a trend coming that people are going to take advantage of this. Smizing. Do you know what the word smizing means? So this is a term, actually, it's been around for a while, came from the modeling business, but it's smiling with your eyes. So with the advent of the COVID, lots of people, customer service people, are wearing masks now that cover your mouth. So if they cover your mouth, how do you show a smile? And how do you react to people? Well, you do it with something called smizing. You smile so that the eyes and the eyebrows and even the nose may move a bit as part of that to show a smile. In normal times, we have what's called the social smile, where both the lips curl up just slightly, but the rest of the face is frozen. And so when somebody approaches, you know, the hotel check-in counter, and you approach that, and the receptionist gives you that social smile, it means a lot. They say this is the smile that greases the wheels of society. It's a social smile, and it means a lot. But the masks have changed that dramatically. So it now requires the eyes to show that. What the technical term of that smile, where the entire face shows happiness, is called the Dutchine smile, and it shows genuine happiness. And if you try this in the mirror, you can't do this by simply smiling harder. This is really hard to do. And the high-end hotels, by the way, Four Seasons, were right at the forefront of this. And actually modeling people, training their people how to smile now through a mask. And I thought that was pretty interesting. It's hard to do that. So, how do we communicate? Well, we communicate a lot through a social smile, and now we've had to change that with the masking. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Um, Video lies. So by now, most of you have seen the Jacob Blake shooting, and most of you seen the videos or at least summaries of what went on in that video. So, on social media, I posted a couple things recently about how I believe video lies. This is not an original thought. I've actually got a lot of this from Scott Adams, the cartoon guy, with Dilbert, and I think the sooner many of us can recognize that video lies, I think the better off we'll be, because we don't accept the video and we say, wait a minute, video's got to be put in context, and I got to have all the other pieces of the data. It's only one piece of data, and it's a very dangerous piece of data, as we've seen from the Jacob Blake shooting. When you have all the data, it may not change your belief on the shooting, but at least you'll have all the data. And it's interesting to me that numerous NBA teams didn't play last night. Some baseball teams, I think 4 different teams did not play. Baseball teams just didn't play to protest this shooting, when in fact they had limited facts. So when you look at the video, what did you see? So you saw a man getting into his car and cops behind him, and you saw 7 shots. So that's what you saw. So the cop shot him in the back, right, as he was getting into the car. That's what you saw. That's what the video. And by the way, even the guy that took the video saw a bunch of stuff before that, but he wasn't videoing then. So and then he turned the camera on after other things happened, by the way, that you didn't get to see. It's interesting. I looked at CNN, and it's interesting. With Google search, you can look at different snapshots of the news, and so you see CNN 22 hours ago, and then you see CNN 11 hours ago. So in between those 11 hours, the news changes dramatically on CNN. Okay, at 22 hours ago, it's cops shoot man 7 times in the back as he's getting into the car. Right, that's what the news is. So the video is a snapshot. So what did the cops see? Okay, and by the way, and I would say cops and some witnesses on the ground. Okay, a lot of different things come up when you see what the cops see. By the way, observation: there was no body cameras. It's in a future budget for Kenosha. They haven't got around to it yet. It's a shame, because I think the body cameras would have a lot more evidence. People criticize Kenosha police for waiting so long to release it. I think with body cameras, they would have released it earlier, and we'll see about that. But if you're in the cops' shoes, what did they see? Well, I'm going to tell you based on some news that came out afterwards. Okay. First of all, they knew the background of the shooter before they got there. Okay. So the 9/11 call originated this. A woman called in and said that this guy is not supposed to be near me. I don't know if that means he's got a restraining order, but it sounds like that. He's not supposed to be here at this location. And by the way, he stole the keys to my car. So now the police have knowledge about a person not supposed to be there. That would imply a restraining order, previous act of the judge in a court involved in it. And they know the background of the individual. They know this is a person that is previously been involved with the police and the court system. What else did the cops see? Before you see him getting into the car, he's fighting with the police. 3 different police are trying to restrain this guy and can't restrain him. So that's another thing you don't see in the video. You don't see in the video that they tasered him and the taser didn't work. We still don't know if if it was a failure for the taser or it just in fact didn't work. Those of you who don't know, tasers work about 30% of the time, 30% effective. So, and by the way, what the video didn't see, that there was a knife found in the auto, in the floorboard, it appears. And also, what you don't see that happened before that is that the cops are yelling to him to drop the knife. So all of that didn't show up in the video. And some of you say, well, video doesn't lie. Well, of course it does, because it doesn't show what you can't see. It only shows what it shows, okay? The man is blocking the knife, so you can't see the knife in the floorboard. You can't see the information on the individual. By the way, does it show anything about the toxicity of the individual? Does he have any drugs in his system? We don't know that still to this day, but it doesn't show that. So, you know, a question would be to my viewers, you know, do you agree with me that the video lies? You know I have some on social media that don't agree with me here, and it's okay. But I think video lies, and the sooner you understand that. I understood this years ago when I went to Universal Studios and saw this cop chase scene done. And of course, the cop car was frozen, and there was a camera, you know, at the hood of the car, looking in the car, and there was, you know, scenery all around. And of course, the cop car wasn't moving. I'm not even sure it had wheels, looking back at it. But the cop car never moved anywhere. But of course, in the real cop scene, it was flying down the highway. So I think that was my first shock to say, oh my goodness, they're fooling us all the time. And while Hollywood didn't film this video, it lies. What's the lesson here? Take 3 days before concluding anything. This thing, within 11 hours of a shooting, to decide that this has to be a bad shooting is way too early. Let's get all the facts. But in the day of cable TV, and you know, and so some people went down to Kenosha. They've destroyed 30 buildings already, based on limited facts. We did this before, by the way. We'll do it again. By the way, did you know of the 7 shots, only 4 hit him? Now you may say that's 4 too many, and I understand if you believe that. But again, the video lies because you hear 7 shots. What do you think? All 7 shots went into it. By the way, most cops, half the shots go elsewhere. This is this thing about accuracy of cop shootings is way overblown. So, interesting observation. Video lies. You argue with me. Number 4, over 10,000 students in the U.S. still have no laptops. The stores and the supply chain are really jammed up on these laptops. This has really taken this whole industry by a surprise, and the supply chains are empty. Some devices have been held up because of U.S. sanctions on Chinese suppliers, and that's tied up. Remember, we have a real tight relationship with China, and they've got a stranglehold on a lot of our supply chains because a lot of our devices come from China and only China. If you don't believe that, look at the Apple supply chain. They were really tied to Apple. Whether they break, whether the U.S. fights, I think that's one of the things Trump ought to argue about in the next term, is a vision that says we're going to bring some manufacturing back here so that our supply chains aren't tied so tightly to one other country. So an idea here, some of you have an extra laptop. I've got an extra Windows laptop I don't use anymore. I'm going to make sure that out on social media that my friends know I have it, so that if somebody needs it for schooling, they can get at it. I think many of you, my friends, ought to do that. You've got an extra older laptop that would work real good on an internet-based program like a Chromebook or so on. Number 5, U.S. Postal Service overtime. Well, the reports of the Inspector General's come out on overtime, and it's not good. I talked previously a few days ago go about this. And I had one of my social media friends come after me and said, because I made the statement, it says, when you come into a company or to a group and you look at real high overtime, especially overtime rate in the 10 to 13%, that's usually a sign of trouble. Well, he cautioned me that in some cases, due to hiring freezes, they have no option. And he's right. You still want to look at it and say, okay, I want to understand what the reason behind it is. And then the post office, it may be because they can't hire it. I don't know that I know that there was hiring freeze. In fact, I thought the new Postmaster General tried to put one in place, and is now, Congress is trying to limit his ability to do that. But the post office was $10 billion this year. To give you the perspective of the overtime problem, in 2019, overtime was $5 billion. The Inspector General report, by the way, that came out before DeJoy, which is the current Postmaster General, took place. He's a friend of Trump. He's donated to the Trump campaign. He's a Republican. He's made fun in the congressional hearing with that. The Inspector General report showed that the last year there was $522 million in questionable overtime, and 42% of postal workers had logged unauthorized overtime. This is out of control, right? Any manager worth their salt would look at this and say, this is a problem. By the way, it gets worse. 4,000 employees made more in overtime than regular pay last year. Think about that. So if you're a $60,000 a year overtime post office employee, then you made more than $60,000 in overtime. So now you're up at $120,000. And by the way, post office workers are fairly well paid. So this is all union employee, controlled by the unions. This is very well paid. This is amazing. 4,000 employees. So observation. Post office, government, pseudo-government run organization. They're controlled by the government. Very inefficiently run. We bring in a guy that says, Inspector General says it's efficiently run. He's an expert in logistics. He's saying they're inefficiently run. I think they are. But how are you going to solve this problem? 4,000 workers are going to get their pay cut almost in half. How's that going to go over? Do you think those 4,000 workers need that double pay right now? Many of them have gotten used to this, and that's a real problem in management when you're dealing with overtime misuse over a period of time. It's really hard to stop because that pay looks like a normal pay increase to them, and their families are used to it. And by the way, it's going to be tough to solve with unions. You look at the issues we're trying to solve in society right now. Education, you got to solve it with unions. Some of you say, well, they're not the problems. You can say they're not the problems all you want, but you have to get through the unions to solve those problems. You got bad teachers, you got to get unions to say they're bad teachers and we're going to let them go. Good luck with that. Cops, bad cops, you got to get through unions, one way or another, right? And so be interesting to see how we fix this. Postal Service, buddy, Danny, if you're listening, you were wrong. They have a real problem with overtime, and more data has showed that. And by the way, to be honest, my friend Danny, he didn't have that data a week ago. Number 6, nursing homes testing. So they've sent 15-minute test kits to 14,000 nursing homes. And those are starting to arrive right now, and the news is coming back, and it's not good. So the company that manufactured them is really busy manufacturing all these test kits with their initial test material, but they can't handle any of the refills yet, the refill orders. And by the way, there's no clear policies on how nursing homes should be doing testing. It's amazing to me. A quick observation is that from the beginning of the COVID, we've known that it affects senior citizens more. Of the 170,000 deaths, 70,000 of them were senior citizens, and many of them in nursing homes. We knew from day one that it affected them more so, and we've been slow to fix this. The treatment of old people, in my mind, has been horrible through this, and not getting the news it should get. I don't know what it means. You know, out of sight, out of mind in these nursing homes. We don't see them. We don't care about them. I don't know. It's a shame to me how we treat our babies and how we treat our old people, and that ought to say something about us as a society. But we've done all this testing in the U.S. and we still can't figure out how to get testing done in nursing homes. That should have been priority one. Priority one. While we locked everybody else down and we locked the old people in nursing homes, we should have figured that out. I'm going to get real mad and start swearing here. I hope I don't do that. Number 7, Apple's curbing ads. So in the next release, OS 14, Apple's got a change in the OS that stops sending a personal identifier ad in a lot of these apps that allow advertisers to personalize ads to you. This is so serious that Facebook has started warning its stockholders that there could be a significant drop in advertising revenue due to this. So many of these apps you use, you say, I got this free app. Well, it's not a free app. There's no such thing as a free app, okay? There's no such thing as a free gift. Let's make sure we understand this. Maybe you're not old enough to understand this. Nothing is free. But these apps that you got that free that do this neat little thing that I like, a picture of a fireplace or whatever, believe me, they're collecting information on you and they're reporting that. And all these apps are reporting that together, and they building a profile on you, and they know where you are. In many cases, they know what products you're looking at, what products you're buying, what products you're shopping for, and they're selling that data, and that data is worth a lot of money. So, and by the way, Google is going to stop using cookies by year 2022. So 2 years, they're going to pull that out of Chrome completely, and they're warning their people that they're going to do that. Safari, by the way, already does that. So, and by the way, targeted ads make more money, okay? You know, once you can build a profile on a person and target an ad, those ads make the most money for Facebook and so on. And they really do work. I'll give you a case in point. I was in the hospital at Mayo Clinic over Christmas. During that time, my kidneys had shut down. Within a couple of days, while I was in the hospital, while I'm using my laptop and my iPhone, I see targeted ads directed at me that are directed at dialysis and home dialysis, okay? Now, they don't know I'm on dialysis yet. I don't know how they know it, but they don't know that, but they already know that there's an issue with me around kidneys, and they've got targeted ads directed to me around kidneys, okay? And you know, where did they pull this out? Social media comments of people asking how I was doing, emails, you know, I don't know, but they pulled it out. So it really does work. So my observation when I'm looking at this, and when you look at a product that's selling you something like Facebook or Apple, the iPhone, who are their customers? Now, if you look at Apple, they're an interesting model because they obviously sell iPhones for $1,000 a piece and make a lot of money doing that. But at the same time, they sell a lot of apps. They make, I think, $15–20 billion a year on App Store. Okay, so the developers that create these apps are a huge business for them, and they make a lot of money through those apps. But strategically, it looks like Apple's decided that the real end user, the person that uses the iPhone, is the customer, and they're going to give that customer the option in this new OS to stop this targeted advertisement. By the way, I understand it's going to be a default, that it defaults to no targeted advertisements, and you have to turn it on. So they've decided strategically who their user is. And I think around security, Apple's making a big deal out of security and making sure that you're not giving away your personal data for free. Facebook, who do you think their user is? The person that gets it free, that puts all the personal data out there on, converses with all their friends, or is it their advertisers? It certainly would look like to me that their customer is their advertiser. So you can argue with me, and it's great that you could do it. That you've got another view on this. Just an observation, but I would look at the revenue model, and when somebody gives you free or it's not costing a lot, ask yourself, how are they staying in business? What are they doing? Okay, I don't have a problem. In fact, I use a company to create this broadcast called StreamYard. They charge me a monthly fee to do this. They provide a service and provide a fee. I don't have a problem with doing that on an ongoing basis. But when they do it for free, you may be giving away more than you want to. Number 8, and the final story for today, baseball is still slow. We thought with a lot of the things for instance, one of the changes this year with the COVID is that we have pitchers must stay in for 3 batters or at least through the end of an inning. We thought that would speed the game up. It's still slow. The average game this year is 3 hours and 7 minutes. That's 2 minutes slower than it was last year. What's the problems with it? Well, we're still using a lot of pitchers, an average of 4.6 pitchers per game. And another issue, the starters are only lasting 4 2/3 innings, less than 5 innings. And I'm noticing that as I watch games, I'm trying to figure out whether the starting pitcher is going to make it through 5 innings. And that was unheard of years ago. We'd say you would make 7 innings. The middle reliever would do 8th inning, and then your closer would do the 9th inning, and that was it. Done. Now you're trying to figure out who's going to cover maybe part of the 5th inning, the 6th inning, and the 7th inning. And a case in point, last night, Rockies in Arizona, Rockies used at least 5 pitchers, if not 6, before getting through that game. So baseball's still slow. I think it's a more interesting game this year. The overtime rule, it's certainly made for exciting baseball. Still questionable whether it's shortening overtime right now. This is where we put the man on second. We start the inning with a man on second. And so the problem with it is it creates 1-run innings. It's working where it's creating runs very early in overtime, but so the other team, the competitor, can do the same thing. So they're putting a man on second, you sacrifice him to third, and then you've got 2 opportunities, 2 batters to get him in to home. And so it's proving very successful in making exciting overtime, but it's creating another run, and then the same team, when they come up to bat, do the same thing. So now you're into an extra inning with both teams scored 1 run. We'll see how it works. I'm okay with it continuing. I think it creates real exciting overtime. So cheers. Thanks for watching today. Hope it wasn't too long for you, and hope it was interesting. Send me some comments. Always love to read your comments and see how you're seeing the broadcast. Cheers. Have a great day.